Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome along to Watkins Glen for round 3 of the 2021 EuroNASCAR Esports Series in conjunction with i-cin.it and SimRacingLeague.it. Mark Werrell that's chatting to you now. What a night we've got ahead at this fantastic circuit, the spiritual home, you could argue, of road racing in the US, where this circuit can trace its route back to the 1940s. But the circuit that we are racing on this evening, which is the short circuit with the inner loop, so that includes the bus stop, is 2.45 miles, or just under 4 kilometres. This configuration of circuit opened in the 1950s, and NASCAR paid its first ever trip here in 1957. But it's the Esports Series that comes back to the circuit that we had, well, a very busy race at in 2020. We had the big one of 2020 here at this circuit. It happened on the very first lap as well. Let's hope that everybody stays clean this evening. It is round 3 of the championship. The man you're looking at on screen now, Tobias Dauenhauer, has been doing rather well in the Esports Series so far this season. He has taken a main race win, but he lies second in the championship standings. It's Guillaume de Flandre, who is quickest in the remaining few minutes of this practice session, that leads the championship so far, just 2 points ahead of Tobias Dauenhauer, who is in second place. And sadly, the driver in third, not with us this evening, Ulysse Delso. He's got technical issues with his equipment at home, so he will not be able to come out and get involved in the action. Vladimir Joitsis, as you can see there, for Academy and Alex Caffey Racing, is jointly fourth with young Simon Palat. And Fred Gabion, 3 times a runner-up in the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series, here for a full season of the esports this year, is going well in 6th position in the championship. But it's all still to play for, with the championship race later on this evening coming up. And of course, we will be going for the next round at Hockenheim, now that the circuit has been released by iRacing. And our finals will be the double points, all-important affair, the finals at Zolder. Well, I say it's Mark Werrell that's chatting to you now, out there on circuit again. I'm going to see whether we can grab a quick word with him in the final few moments of the practice session. Andre Weigold is back out there. Andre, difficult circuits we've had so far this year. I had a few laps around Watkins Glen, thought I'd be quick. I was 4 seconds slower than the cars in my session. How are you getting on, mate?
Hello everyone and good evening. I'm already practicing, but I had not so much time to practice this track. I know it, of course, from NASCAR racing, but those guys are so incredibly fast. I don't know what to do. The same as you. I'm way behind. I'm one of the last guys, and again, I'm in survival mode. But I love this track. It's so dynamic. It's flowing. You know, you have to hit every apex at the right time, in the right angle. If you have something wrong in your flow, in your rhythm, you're going to lose time. This is for sure. But this track is just perfect. You know, I like those natural tracks built in the 50s. You have a track that was fitted to the landscape and not the other way around. You have grass, you have gravel traps around there, no big tarmac places. And it's just going up, down, up, down. It's just incredible.
I love Watkins Glen. I love Watkins Glen. But like you, I really struggled. It's amazing. I'm just looking at the cars now and looking at Fred Gabion on screen, just how much curb they're using compared to me. It's because I don't have the confidence to use the curbs. And then when the car starts to get a little bit out of shape, to control it, whereas these guys have all of that confidence and all that skill and ability to let the car run as wide as they can on the curbs. And if they just touch a bit of the grass, the car gets unsettled, they can gather up that moment, whereas I just simply don't have that skill level. It's nice to see also, Andre, that we've got another Andre on the entry list for this weekend. Our reigning esports champion from 2020, Andre Castro, is with us this evening. Good to see him back, isn't it?
Yes, he's such a great sim racer from the US. He had no time for the first rounds, but now he's back, and maybe you can fuse him with me someday today, because then I will be up front and not in the back. So Andre, just tell everybody it's me and not him.
It's nice to see we've also got 2 cars out from one of our circuit partners. That's why they're running the number 400. Anything in the 400 is one of our circuit partners. That is Philip Beresvel that we're looking at now at the wheel of one of the 2 American Fan Fest cars, as the clock continues to tick down, and some of the drivers I think already now out there and starting to get some qualifying laps in. You've got qualifying to come, Andre. Are you going to qualify nice and early on and get the time in, or hang around until later on?
Let's see. I don't really know right now. I still need to get in this mood. The practice was not perfect, so I'm just going to do my 2 qualifying laps, but I don't really see any ground for me here today. We have enough drivers, so I have to drive. Oh no, we don't have enough drivers, so I have to drive the main race. So it's going to be tricky 30 minutes.
So we're into qualifying. We'll let Andre get ready for the qualifying session. If you're not familiar with the format, then again, just to guide you back through the format, we've got this qualifying session coming up now. It's a 10-minute qualifying session, but each car goes out there and does 2 qualifying laps. So there are 2 laps that each car can do. So it doesn't matter if you can squeeze more into the 10 minutes. So you only get 2 flying laps, and that will be it. The lap times that you set will dictate your grid position for the heats. So in other words, the fastest car out of the 32, 33 that we've got entered this evening, the fastest car will head on to pole position for heat number 1. The second fastest car from qualifying will head on to pole position for heat number 2. The third fastest car will be the outside of the front row for the first heat. The fourth fastest car will be the outside of the front row for the second heat, and so on and so on and so on. Now, those heats are shorter than the main races. The heats are held over what will be just 10 minutes at the heats, and heat 1, which will in reality be for all the drivers that have qualified in the odd numbers, so first, third, fifth, seventh will all go into heat 1. Those that have qualified in an even number position, second, fourth, sixth, and so on, will all go into heat 2, and again that will be held over 10 minutes. And those heats in reality give you the row of the grid that you will start on for the final. So if you win your heat, whether it be heat 1 or heat 2, you will go on to the front row of the grid for the final, the main championship race. That's the race that carries the points. If you are second in your heat, you will start on the second row of the grid for the final. And then the final, a much longer affair, tyre degradation to worry about as well, a 30-minute race for the final, and it's that final race this evening that carries those all-important championship points. 40 points for the win, 35 points if you're in second place, 34 if you're third, and so on. It comes down by a single point for every position thereafter. The only extra points are for any driver that gains the most positions in that final race from their starting position in that race to their finishing position, and that driver gets an extra 4 championship points. And that's the way that the format has been working beautifully for this second ever edition of the EuroNASCAR Esports Series. We had a great 2020 series, probably too many drivers, to be honest, because I think we tried to cram in nearly 72 drivers into the servers on some occasions and had to split the server for practice and had to have 3 heats and have a last chance race. We don't have quite as many involved in this one because some of the drivers have either got new equipment coming through, or some of them are perhaps now busy preparing for their seasons. But we've got a healthy entry list here, and at this equivalent race last year it was one of our guest drivers, Michael Schmidl, that claimed top honours, but we did have heat wins from the likes of Guillaume de Flandre, who is the championship leader at the moment. Top of the times is Davide De Lara, as you can see on your screen there, 1 minute 13.1. Fred Gabillon has just gone quicker. I'm not seeing any of the cars circulating on my screen. All I'm looking at is the start-finish line and no cars going round. Guillaume de Flandre now goes to the top of the times with a 1 minute 12.335. Fred Gabillon is second quickest. Davide De Lara is third. Vladimir Choitsis and Paul Giffreau are fourth and fifth, and they're separated by very little time indeed. Tobias Downhow pops a quick one in and goes second quickest. So that is a 1 minute 12.7 from him, almost a 1 minute 12.8 that he has popped in. But I am still not seeing any cars circulating at all on my screen. I've just got a blank track, and I'm looking at the start-finish line and nothing other than that. So that's slightly worrying that there might be a technical issue at my end that we might need to look at. So there's still 6 minutes of the qualifying session to go. Justin Kuntz looks as though he is on a quick lap this time through. We've seen great things from Justin Kuntz at this circuit last year. He did win one of the races here last year. He won the last chance race to get himself into the main championship battle. And there's a replay, but again, I am seeing no cars at all still, I'm afraid. So there's clearly some sort of technical issue at my end. So we've got still 4.5 minutes of the session that have ticked through. Luca Caniore is back in the championship, running car number 300. If you're not familiar with the numbering on the cars as well, I'll just guide you through that. Any car that is numbered less than 100. Well, that is a driver that runs in the EuroNASCAR Pro Division. So that is for the top flight of European NASCAR racing. Any cars that are within the 100 bracket, so car number 100 to 199, those are for EuroNASCAR 2 drivers. Cars that run, or drivers that run in the EuroNASCAR Club Challenge, run in the 200s. Cars that start with a 3, i.e. they're in the 300s, are team members, so that could be a mechanic or a team manager, or maybe a member of a media part of that team. And cars that start with a 4, i.e. in the 400s, they're EuroNASCAR Whelen Euro Series guests and influencers and our track partners. So that gives you an idea as to the breakdown for it. Andre Weigold is there. Andre, have you been out and done your qualifying lap? I have no idea because I'm not seeing any cars out on track in qualifying. Very strange.
Yes, maybe it's because you have entered as a driver. I don't know if this is a problem because I cannot see the other drivers too, just me. Yes, I got black flagged in qualifying.
Go on, tell me more. What's happened?
I cut it one corner in the out lap and I got a black flag.
Oh dear.
So, come on, I would have been at the end of the grid even when I posted a lap time. So no disaster for me.
Well, as you said, you wanted to just stay out of trouble at the previous round that you had at Brands Hatch, and you managed to do just that. It's not easy, is it? These guys, you realise just how quick and how talented they are, whether it be as real race car drivers or as esports racers.
Yeah, totally agree. Those guys are incredibly fast and they take it very serious because it's wheel championship points on the line. You can get some team championship points for the real life NASCAR Whelen Euro Series. So those guys are taking this all very serious and they are practicing a lot. And of course, they have the feeling to have to drive a car like this on a racetrack. It's no difference between real world and sim racing. Those guys know how to handle a NASCAR car.
Who's your money on for this evening? Because we've seen Guillaume de Flandre and Tobias Downhauer so evenly matched so far this year in the EuroNASCAR Esports Series, but the likes of Simon Palat and Fred Gabion, and of course we've got in Andre Castro as well this evening. So I still think de Flandre has had the pace over everybody so far this season. Your thoughts?
Yes, I think so. I think Guillaume de Flandre is going to be the favorite for this race, but you have seen the chaos in the 2020 version when we have a big one in the first couple of laps or right at the start. Everybody can win then when we have a big wreck. But just on the pace, when I look at the pace, it's Guillaume de Flandre, Tobias Downhauer, or even Simon Pilat. And I'm a little bit surprised. Frédéric Gabillon has really increased his sim racing pace.
He has compared to last year. Absolutely, he's been the find of the season. Another driver joining us, your fellow countryman as well, is going to be the car of Daniel Adam. Hugely experienced German esports racer. So it'll be interesting to see how he gets on this evening, because we know Mikkel Schmidl went beautifully well, another experienced esports racer at this circuit last year.
Yes, I know Daniel from the ovals on iRacing, so he's a expert on ovals in the NASCAR cars. I don't know how good he is on road courses, but when I take a look at his lap time, he's competitive. Maybe not for the win, but for a top 10 result, he's definitely one of those guys.
Well, and I think the quick times are going to come at the end of this session, because Daniel Adam is only about to pop a quick time in now. Andre Castro, last year's esports champion out there on circuit, trying to put a quick time in. Philip Burresvel has also gone second quickest as he popped a time in very late on in the session. So the car number 479 going really, really, really well with that. So Andre Castro just about to come through and conclude his lap. Daniel Adam has gone 16th quickest with his flying time, and Andre Castro is about to head over the start-finish line any second now. And where is the number 122 going to end up? I think he might have. Yes, he does. He goes second quickest, so a great time put in by Andre Castro right towards the end. So they left it late into the session, very late on in the session, Andre, but our champion from last year is on the front row of the grid for his return to the series.
Yeah, that's what I expected. Andre Castro is just a phenomenal sim racer and a wheel racer. He deserves to be there up front with Guillaume de Flandre. I think it's going to be a great race. We see it 1/10 of a second between those guys. Let's see who has the long run pace. I think this is going to be the crucial point, because the tires fall off very quickly. We have it all season long. And you have to manage the tires, you have to manage your pace over 30 minutes. And this is going to be the crucial part here at Watkins Glen.
Yeah, we'll wait and see. Qualifying is about to come to an end. There's only a few seconds left, but I think all of the drivers have largely already completed their qualifying runs and therefore are now just making their way back into the pit lane, or indeed waiting there for the first heat ready to grid up, because that is what is about to happen. Guillaume de Flandre will be starting this first heat from the pole position. So let's just run you through the way that they have lined up after qualifying. Guillaume de Flandre, quickest overall. Andre Castro, second quickest, so he will head to pole for heat number 2 that will be coming up shortly. Philippe Beresvel was third quickest, so he'll be in this heat that's coming up now. And Tobias Dauenhauer, who has gone so well in the championship and is lying second in the standings, was fourth quickest. Simon Palat was fifth, so he will also jump into heat number 1. Fred Gabion, what a great qualifying run from him in sixth place. Davide Dallara, Alessandro Bugatti, Vladimir Choitzis and Paul Duthreau round out the top 10. Gordon Barnes was in 11th, head of Stefano Gustavalle. We saw him go beautifully well last time out. Henry Turmola, Justin Kutz and Alain Muscaron round out the top 15, with Roy Hendricks in 16th place. Daniel Adam, maybe 17th in the end. Might have thought he'd have gone a little bit quicker, but as Andre suggested, maybe better on ovals rather than the road courses. Giorgio Maggi, a disappointing 18th again. Santi Forzatorium and Alberto Panibianco round out the top 20. Then it's Chris Lehman from Max Lancer, Jakob Krafik and Luca Caniore returning for Cal Racing, head of Levi Lintercantu, Nave Towler, Patrick Hendricks, Reen Janssen, I always struggle with that one, Yevgen Sokolovsky and Francesco Garisto wrap up the top 30. Max Heilig, Igor Romanov, and that is the last of the runners that we have, Igor Romanov. So a very full 16 cars will join this first grid, and on the basis of that, we do not have Andre Weigold in this one. You could join me in commentary for this one, Andre, if you wish.
Yes, of course. I'm there for you, always.
Thanks, mate. So we're looking at Gordon Barnes here. So this is the 246 car of Gordon Barnes. We saw a chunk of him racing last year in the NASCAR Club Challenge as it was rebadged, car number 246. He was third in the Club Challenge in 2020. British driver, 46 years of age. He's done a bit of late models racing in the past, and I've seen him racing Formula V. He posted a picture of it on social media. His first ever car race at Silverstone in a Formula V, a Volkswagen Beetle engine, single seaters. So interesting to see how he goes. He lines up fifth on the grid. So Guillaume de Flandre, pole position, Andre, but Philippe Beresvel going beautifully well. Very young driver, is a young kart racer, local to the Hockenheim track, represented them last year and is clearly showing he's got some pace.
Yes, and we have the Hockenheim ring uploaded to iRacing. It would be great to have a Hockenheim car driver win a race in this season. So maybe right before the home race, a race win at Watkins Glen. Why not? And I just wanted to add something on Andre Castro, who we will see later today. Gianluca Guiglia, our brain of EuroNASCAR, sent me a message. He said Andre got rid of his G27 wheel and got a new SimRacing rig. I don't know what Andre's problem with the G27. I use it; it's perfect. So, but he has a way better equipment right now. So
I have to say, considering he was the champion last year, the equipment he got was not at the top end of the market, let's say. Yeah, but he did an amazing job to win the championship. He had an old Logitech G-Spec wheel. So yeah, with newer equipment, it'll be interesting to see how he gets on. So 16 cars in this one. Guillaume de Flandre and Philippe Beresvel on the front row of the grid. Simon Palat and David Delara on row number 2. Then it's Vladimir Choitzis and Gordon Barnes, Henry Tuamala and Daniel Adam. Alain Muscaron and Chris Lehman, Santi Volkswagen and Jakob Krafok, Levi Lintercantu, Patrick Hendricks, Yevgen Sokolovsky and Max Heilig are the drivers that are in this first heat. Remember, it is 10 minutes. They are just heading out of the top part of the circuit, so out of the outer loop and coming down the straight that brings them up towards what is in reality turn 6. If we sort of don't count the bus stop as turns as such, where you flick right, flick left, flick right. Very fast section of the circuit where you can use some curb, but fairly simple circuit, but it's so difficult to drive, this one. So 2x2 order. The pace car will peel its way right into the pit lane on the exit of this final corner that they're coming up to now, and the first 10-lap heat of round 3 of the 2021 EuroNASCAR Esports Series is about to go green here at Watkins Glen. Pace car peels off, red lights on, red lights go out. now. There you are. Yep, there they go. And they're now all charged their way up towards the first corner. Guillaume de Flandre looking to try and hang on to the lead of the race, is able to do so, and it is going to be Simon Palat, I think, that's come through into second. There's a spin for one of the Not Only Motorsport cars there. Chris Lehman's getting caught out and heading into the barriers, along with Davide De Lara, I think, got tangled up in that one as well. Vladimir Choices was able to scrabble his way through the carnage that sort of unfolded in front of him, as did the number 23 car of Henry Tuamala. But it is Guillaume de Flandre that leads the race as we go on board with Simon Palat running in second place, trying to hunt down the race leader. The young 18-year-old Belgian seeing what he can do to see if he can just close up onto the race leader, whilst behind him is the car that we're looking back at now, which is Philippe Beresvel at the wheel of the Hockenheim FanFest car, who might have started on the front row of the grid, but the top three already in this early stages of this race look to have been able to pull away, Andre, don't they?
Yes, great start for Guillaume de Flandre, for Simon Pilat and Philippe Beresvel. I think the other guys were a little bit caught up in those mess at the opening corner, but I think everybody else is got through this chaos. Hopefully this was the first and last first corner crash here today, but Guillaume de Flandre, look at this, the 64 of Speedhouse right at front, and I think Simon Pilat needs to take a look in his rear mirror, because he sees the car of Philippe Beresvel there. And Simon Pilat, I love this story he told us last year when he was getting his racing license in real life, when he borrowed the car of his sister at Zolder to drive some laps with it to get his racing license, and then he did his first ever auto racing race in the EuroNASCAR. It was just phenomenal to see this guy evolving, developing over the course of 2020, and he's still one of those top runners here in the EuroNASCAR Esports Series 2. So take a look at this 166 car with Simon Pilat.
Yeah, Simon Palat coming under pressure from Philippe Beresvel. He's only 18 years of age, Simon Palat, so he's got a very bright future ahead of him. The four cars that got tangled up in the first lap incident was Davide De Lara, Daniel Adam, unfortunately, at the wheel of the other Hockenheim FanFest car, Chris Lehman, who I mentioned, and in the pit lane with damage is Jakob Krafek, the 483 Toyota, one of just a couple of Toyotas in the entry list overall, the only Toyota we've got in this race. At the moment, it's Chevy's 1, 2, 3. The leading Ford is Vladimir Choices, that's there in fourth position. Side by side, Alain Mousqueron trying to sneak up the inside of Gordon Barnes. The door is about open. This is for 7th and 8th positions, with Santu Vauxhall just up the road from the pair of them. And it looks as though Gordon Barnes has just for the moment hung on to it as we go on board with Alain Mousqueron. He is a 2 times EuroNASCAR Club Challenge champion now, back-to-back championships in 2019 and 2020, Alain Mousqueron, and as ever is being very, very competitive, looking to try and see if he can pick up places along the way. But Gordon Barnes, who is at the moment in 7th place, is just making sure he gets off the corners cleanly. And that's the thing here, Andre, isn't it? If you get off the corners cleanly, it's not an easy circuit to overtake.
Yes, it's all about finding the right apex and get in flow. What I told you before, when you mess up with one of those apexes, you have a problem with the rhythm of the whole lap. And if the guy in front of you is making no mistakes, it's so hard to overtake. I think turn 1 is a good one, because you have this wide runoff area and you can make things happen there. But then you have the yeses, you have to be in flow there, you cannot change lines there. So this is all about trying to get the right position for the bus stop chicane, but also the bus stop chicane, very narrow part of the track. So it's really hard fitting 2 cars side by side. And then you have the outer loop, the long right-handed turn. It's all about momentum. It's all about getting the right position and then take an advantage on the corner exit, I think.
Yeah, you see Simon Palat bouncing over the curbs as he went through the bus stop. So keen is he to try and keep the 479 Chevy of Philippe Beresvel right behind him. We also saw a drive-through penalty for Vladimir Choices, who was going really well. He was inside the top 6, but by the time he's done his drive-through penalty, he slipped outside of the top 10, I'm afraid. That's car number 101. It was the leading Ford. It's now then in 11th place. The leading Ford is now 9th, and that is Patrick Hendricks. So the battle for 2nd and 3rd continuing as Guillaume de Flandre just starts to edge away ever more at the wheel of the number 64 Speedhouse entered car. So the 25-year-old Belgium leading the way. His fellow countryman, the 18-year-old, sitting there in second place. The German in third place. Then it's the Scandinavians, the two Finns, Henry Tuomala and Santi Volksattori, that are there fifth and sixth. And the British driver, Gordon Barnes, there in seventh. But this is a great fight that's going on. Simon Palat having to work overtime to try and keep Philippe Beresvel behind. And at the moment is doing a really good job of just making sure he doesn't make a mistake. Now, Simon Palat lies fifth overall in the championship standings coming into this race. In the two finals that we've had, the first of those at Daytona, round two was held at Brands Hatch. Well, he's finished in the top 10 in both. There is on your screen the drive-through penalty for Vladimir Izchoitzis for causing contact with Davide Dallara on lap number 1. It's as though Jakob Krafik has parked the car because he got tangled up in that incident and has not reappeared from the pit lane since. Good little fight coming up towards us now. This includes Chris Lehman's car at the back of it. He's trying to catch up with Davide Dallara and then Daniel Adam, who's just up the road. So unlucky break, really. There is Daniel Adam at the front of that queue. He's trying to hunt down Yevgen Sokolovsky as well. So this is sort of 11th, 12th, 13th and 14th places all together. I've been also really impressed with Chris Lehman's pace over the course of this season, Andre. You know, we saw him come out and do a few rounds last year, and he was a bit like you and I towards the tail end of the field. He is the media man, isn't he, for Marco Steep Motorsport? But his pace this year has been impressive, I've got to say.
Yes, I'm impressed and surprised too. I don't know how much he practiced over the winter to get this pace. I know he's a decent driver. He did some karting in real life and always studied a lot of racing stuff and things like that. So he knows racing very good. But he found something on the car, on his setup, and on his skills in the virtual world that really put him in a good place in this year. So I'm really surprised and impressed. Nice pace, and I think all the Marcus Stipp Motorsport cars are looking great with this paint scheme they have right here. The only problem is for you and me, it's really hard to see who's who.
From a commentary perspective, it's not easy, is it? Yeah, unless you can see the number, you have no idea which one of them it is. So there we go. There is Gordon Barnes still fighting away. Still got Alain Mouscaron right behind him. So that is that's one of the Marco Steep Motorsport cars there. They have two different liveries. They have the black with the orange or the light blue with the orange. That's about the only way you can tell them apart. You see the two coming towards us now. You wouldn't know. There's the other version of their livery. Again, yeah, the two blue cars together, just to make it nice and easy. Hey, that is 48 Yevgen Sokolovsky ahead of 348, which is Chris Lehman. You can tell Chris Lehman's car. It's got the dints on the back. That's the easy way to tell the two apart. It's got the damaged bonnet as well. So that's the easier way to tell those two apart at the moment. As we look at Chris Lehman, such a shame he got tangled up in that first lap incident. He's there in 13th position with only now a couple more laps to go before we will see the checkered flag and Guillaume de Flandre potentially heading towards another victory, because at the moment he's got, well, a comfortable lead, a lead that he's just eked out over the last few laps, and it's now hovering around 1 3/4 seconds as we continue to look at the fight for 11th and 12th and 13th position as well, because don't rule out the not only motorsport car of Davide Dallara that sits just behind this pair, as he was another car that got tangled up and should have been right the way towards the sharp end of the field, really. Over the start-finish line with 1 1/4 to go. There's the race leader going through. Here is our battle for second. Simon Palat and Philippe Beresvel still absolutely together. Simon Palat started third on the grid. Philippe Beresvel started second. So the order between the two of them did shuffle, but it's only shuffled on the very first sprint, I think, down towards turn number 1. Since then, Simon Palat has been under pressure all of the time, but there's not been any chink in his armour at all. A long way of drift of this lead 3 is the 4th place car, which is Henry Tuomala. As you can see, he's the best part of nearly 7 seconds behind the leading trio, who are just turning their way through the outer loop once more and starting to accelerate their way down the straight in towards turn 6, which is very easy to carry too much speed into and then bounce over the curb on the way out, which really unsettles the car and makes it ever more difficult then to move from the right of the circuit to the left of the circuit, ready for the final corner. And I think they're just going to squeeze an extra lap out, are they? Oh, it's going to be tight, you know. 10 seconds to go. Is Guillaume de Flandre going to get over the start-finish line before the checkered flag? He might just. as he heads over the start-finish line now. Yeah, by a couple of seconds. We've got one more lap to do, which means that for Simon Palat, that is another lap where he's going to be watching his mirrors and just looking to see what the number 479 American Fan Fest Hockenheim-backed Chevy is doing behind him in the hands of Philip Brasville. So he's a young kart racer, races for the local club in the Hockenheim area. As we go on board with the car ahead of him, Simon Palat, the 18-year-old Belgian, looking back at the young German. You can hear the blip on the downshift there. Not sure whether Simon Palat is blipping himself on the downshift, or has he set iRacing to auto blip, but you certainly need to match the revs on the downshift and avoid locking the back end of the car up in these Cup specification NASCARs. Everybody running the same setup as well. There's a setup that's issued to the drivers. They get plenty of time to test it, but everybody is running exactly the same setup, whether it be a Ford or a Chevy or a Toyota. Same setup for everybody, but the race is about to come to an end here, and it is going to be Guillaume de Flandre that is going to take the win. It is Simon Palat who will come through and just hold off Philip Beresvel into second position. So Guillaume de Flandre wins again in the EuroNASCAR Esports Series. So far this season, he has won his heat in each of the races that we've had, whether it be at Daytona on the road course or at Brands Hatch. He's also had one main race win as well. That came at the Daytona road course, but at Brands Hatch he was second overall in the main race. So a first and a second overall, but heat wins every time he's appeared. So cars heading through. It looks as though after the leading trio, Henry Tuamala did indeed come through and finish in fourth position. Santa Vauxhall came through and finished in fifth place, and Alain Muscaron will complete the top six ahead of Gordon Barnes and Livy Lintercanto. Patrick Hendricks and Vladimiris Choitsis fought his way back after the drive-through penalty in the end, being deemed the culprit for that turn one incident and contact. The drive-through penalty meant that he recovered into 10th position in the end. So heat one done and dusted. Just to confirm the results, de Flandre claims the win from Simon Palat in second place, Philip Beresvel third. Then it's Tuamala from Vauxhall and Alain Muscaron, Gordon Barnes, Livy Lentercanto, Patrick Hendricks and Vladimiris Choitsis wrap up the top 10. Daniel Adam, tangled up in the turn one incident, was there in 11th place. Yevgen Sokolovsky was 12th. Chris Lehman, another casualty at turn one, finished in 13th place out of David Lara. Maxi Heilig, Jakub Krafik retired very early on, and he was the last of the cars that started the race. We should have, hopefully, some of the drivers coming to join us in commentary shortly. Andre Weigold, of course, will be getting ready for his heat, because he is about to head around the circuit for 10 laps again, remember. So it will be another 10-lap heat. And we should hopefully be able to have a chat to a couple of our drivers. One of them is just joining us in the commentary box now. Guillaume de Flandre is back with us in the commentary box as the cars head on to their rolling lap. Guillaume, congratulations. Another great qualifying session and a perfect race, just having enough of a gap between the cars behind. Well done.
Hello, everybody. Thanks. Yeah, my qualification, my turn was during the qualifications. It is very good. Yeah. A better lap was possible, but I preferred not to take too much risk and answer a fast lap. But the race went well. Yeah, I managed to get. Yep.
Go on, Philip.
I managed to get a good start and keep my advantage. I was able to put in some fast and busy lap without using my tire too much.
It just seemed as though you were helped a little bit by Simon Palat in second place, having to defend from Philip Beresvel, and that was just enough to keep that gap at 2 seconds.
Yes, Simon is really quick, very fast, and Philip also. I think for the final, the gaps were pretty low.
And your main championship rival, Tobias Downhauer, up in this heat. You two have been matched for pace at Daytona and at Brands Hatch, and I'm sure you'll be fighting away in the final for the victory here as well. He's a tough competitor, Tobias.
Yeah, absolutely. For the championship, every 1 point count for the championships, and I try to
Championship. Then it's Nave Talor, Reen Jensen, Francesco Garisto, Igor Romanov, and Andrei Weigold towards the tail end of the field. So 16 cars in the first heat, 17 cars in this second heat. Remember, the heats really just tell you what row of the grid you'll be starting on for the main race, the one that carries the championship points. That's a 30-minute race that comes up after this one that we're about to start now. So safety car peels its way to the pit lane, red lights on, they're already accelerating, and as they head over the start-finish line, lights go off, and Andre Castro, the esports champion from 2020, returning to the series, leads the race. Oh dear, there's contact further back, I'm afraid, and one of the cars gets turned around. Andre Castro, it's leading the race. Fred Gabion is up into second position as a result of some of the shenanigans there, and Tobias Dauenhauer is down into third position. I think it was Roy Hendricks that got tagged into a spin, and a big moment there up onto the barriers, and back down right in front of one of his fellow competitors, I'm afraid to say. And that, I think, was Max Lancer. Yeah, Max Lancer having a big old accident there where he sort of had two wheels up on the top of the barrier, came back down again, and didn't still fully have control of the car, slewed across the circuit, and was taken out by another one of his competitors there, I'm afraid to say. So Heat 2, again, issues on the first lap. We haven't had the big one like we had in the 2020 version of this race, but already some of the cars are bearing the scars, I'm afraid to say, and I think Igor Romanov is one of them, because he's coming under attack from Andre Weigold, who's looking to try and squeeze his way through. No, door's going to close, couldn't quite make it there, so he headed up towards the penultimate corner. So Andre Weigold, one of our co-commentators and a member of the EuroNASCAR media team, he's a very good commentator in his own right, working his way up through the order. 3 places gained on the first lap, from 17th up to 14th position at the wheel of that, well, distinctly liveried car, the Dayglow yellow and Dayglow green car. Out front, Castro still leading. This is Nave Talor, the Israeli driver, coming under press from the number 18 car of Giorgio Maggi, who seems to have opened the door. The Ford alongside the Chevy has the inside line as they head up in towards the bus stop chicane. Should be able to make it through, and indeed, does go through. So place gains there for Giorgio Maggi. The next car he's going to want to try and close in on is going to be Luca Cagliore, who is the team manager for Cal Racing, who I think did the first round at Daytona. We didn't see him at Brands Hatch last time out, when we saw his teammate Stefano Gustavalle, who's one of the team members and the mechanics for the number 54 car for Cal Racing, finish on the podium overall. Gustavalle is in 7th place in this race, so just ahead of the boss by the look of things. But Luca Cagliore now coming under a bit more pressure. Now here's the replay of the start. So I think it was Roy Hendricks that got caught out on the brakes. He got a tag from behind, I'm afraid. Yeah, Roy Hendricks got a tag from behind. And I think that might have been Justin Kuntz that tagged him. And Alessandro Brigatti got tangled up as well. There's also another car on the exit there that got involved. So, yeah, Alessandro Brigatti probably came off worse than anybody. But I think it might have been Justin Kuntz that missed his braking point and just tagged the car ahead of him. Now, in the barriers there was one of the not only motorsport cars that was bouncing around on the barriers, and that has dropped itself way down through the order now. Yeah, Justin Kuntz, stop go, 10-second penalty for causing an incident with Roy Hendricks. So that was what I saw at the start. Yeah, the original contact with Roy Hendricks that then triggered Francesco Garisto getting involved, and others as well. I think that is what is going to mean a drive-through penalty. Now that's Fred Gabion. He's outbraked himself, heading up into the penultimate corner. So Fred Gabion, who was in 4th position, is going to drop down to 5th, possibly even down into 6th place. Through goes Justin Kuntz. Fred Gabion is now back up into 4th. So yeah, the car he lost the place to. All of a sudden then had to serve the drive-through penalty. So here's Fred Gabion. Too late on the brakes. Through goes Tobias Dauenhauer. Through goes Paul Jethro. And then by the time Fred Gabion scrabbles his way back onto the grass, through has also got Justin Kuntz. But he came straight into the pit lane because of the drive-through penalty. So 2 places lost to Fred Gabion, rather than, as it was, 3 in reality. Now what we're looking at here is Stefano Gustavalle in 6th place, the number 354 Chevy, trying to catch up with Alberto Panibianco. Now Alberto Panibianco has gained 5 places in this race so far. Started in 10th position, is now up into 5th position, but has certainly got his hands full of Gustavaya, who you could see was having to ease off the throttle there. You see the tail end of Panebianco's car wiggle around as he came out of the outer loop. They thunder their way down the straight and up towards the penultimate corner. Gustavaya looking for the inside line on the left hand, and Panebianco tries to brave it out around the outside to get the inside line for the next corner, but in Fred Gabillon style runs wide and onto the grass, and through goes Stefano Gustavaya. So despite the hard work for Alberto Panebianco, the 24-year-old Italian, who we saw do 4 EuroNASCAR Pro races last year, all 4 of those coming in the finals weekend, the super weekend at Valencia, still managed to lose places. Alessandro Brigati's done a cracking job, you know, Alessandro Brigati. We're looking at the 108 car here. Brigati was involved, remember, in that first corner incident, I'm sure, and has now managed to carve his way back up through the order. Still 4 places lower than where he started, but he's back up into 8th place and going beautifully well at the moment, catching the cars ahead. Luca Caniore for Cal Racing is the next of those that is going to get picked off, I fear, here by the charging Italian. Racing for Victor Motorsport. Yeah, he's got the overlap there, heading up towards the outer loop. Through he goes, but then gets very sideways. Has to catch the moment. Oh, no, and all of the hard work's been undone as he clobbers the tyre wall and causes more damage to his car. That is now going to drop him all the way back down into 11th place again as Nave Talor sneaks through. So let's just have another quick look. Here's Brigati, look. Gets the overlap on Caniore, but then just loses the tail end of the car. And then as he tries to catch it, it snaps back on him into the barriers on the outside. A full 360, gets going again, but you can see the 108 car now looking slightly more battered than it was earlier on. 6.5 minutes gone. The 22-year-old American, the reigning EuroNASCAR Esports champion, Andre Castro, leads the race. A late entry for this evening was Andre Castro. A very good esports racer. Not only is he the EuroNASCAR Esports champion, but he also competed in the iRacing Daytona 24 Hours in January and finished runner-up in his particular group in the iRacing 24 Hours. We did see him take in some EuroNASCAR 2 races last year. Only did 4 races with us, though. The Italian rounds at Vallelunga and Zolder at the finals. And Zolder, which were scheduled to have appeared towards the back end of the calendar, and Valencia ultimately became the final round, didn't it? So Brigati, right, okay, where is he now again? In 11th place, battered car after his incident earlier on, but still catching the cars ahead. Oh, what could have been for Alessandro Brigati. He sits there at the wheel of the 108 car, hunting down the Chevy of Nave Talor that lies ahead. Nave Talor showing on the graphic on your screen as car number 191, but as you can see the livery on the car showing it as 91, so not quite displaying the number on the car quite right for Nave Talor, who is a very, very quick, like so many of them, a very quick young man again, Nave. Still a teenage, only 19 years of age, I think, still Nave. Another driver that we saw do 4 EuroNASCAR 2 races last year, appeared at the finals in Valencia, the super weekend as it was badged. Boy, Hendricks coming under pressure. This is Giorgio Maggi that's looking to try and squeeze his way through. Hendricks sitting in 7th place, Giorgio Maggi in 8th place, but Roy Hendricks is going to have his work cut out there because most of the front bodywork is missing off the car. He's only got a minute and a half still to try and hang on to it, but Giorgio Maggi is pushing hard. Giorgio Maggi, runner-up in the EuroNASCAR 2 Championship, remember, back in 2019. He finished in the top 10 in the Esports Championship last year as well, did Giorgio Maggi. Has had not the best of luck so far this year, Giorgio. He lies 14th in the championship standings coming into this one. Finished 5th last time out at Brands Hatch and picked up the extra 4 points as well, having gained the most places in the final. But he had a bit of a tough old race at Daytona where he finished in 33rd position ultimately. What's this a quick replay of? This is Alessandro Brigati and Luca Caniore, and that's a replay of him going off, wasn't it, earlier on. We saw the onboard shot as well of exactly what happened, and that's why Brigati is still struggling with a battered car. and is down in 11th position, trying to squeeze his way past Nave Talon. There's a bit of contact between the pair of them there. Nave Talon was almost barged out of the way, really, by Alessandro Bugatti. He was just so much quicker through that section of the circuit. So went through the S's at turn 2 and turn 3. The contact was made at the top of the hill at turn number 4. So Nave Talon doing a good job of just managing to control the car after the initial contact was made. But for Andre Castro, he's about to come out of the final corner. Is he going to do a Guillaume de Flandre and squeeze a further lap out? I think he is, over the start-finish line, 2 seconds to go, onto the final lap. So again, just seconds separating Andre Castro from having to do 1 lap less. He had enough time just about to be able to back off, but with only 2 seconds remaining and a 3-second gap, it would have been tight. So he's done the sensible thing, kept his foot planted, has to do the 1 extra lap, but is able to now just control that pace and ease things off if he wishes to on the final lap. Tobias Downhour second, Paul Giffreau in 3rd place. As we look back at Stefano Gustavalle, all rear wheels on the grass, heading up towards the left-hander, the penultimate corner, all the way through the gravel. Is he going to get it stopped before the barriers? Yes, he is, Stefano Gustavalle. So was running inside the top 5, and I think will probably rejoin just ahead of Alberto Panibianco. But for Andre Castro, he is already thundering his way down the straight and up towards the penultimate corner, the last of the left-hand bends here at Watkins Glen. Through the left-hander goes Andre Castro, up towards the final right-hander, driver who has always been quick in the EuroNASCAR Esports Series, and when we regularly see him out in EuroNASCAR 2, he's a force to be reckoned with as well. Through he comes to claim his first heat victory of the season. Andre Castro claimed plenty of heat victories last year. I think he managed 6 victories in the heats over the course of the 7 rounds that we had, including there was a prologue round as well, wasn't it? So 8, you could argue, but he managed to claim 6 heat victories, did Andre Castro. And the only main race that he won, though, was the prologue event that we had at Daytona on the road course. But he has done what he wanted to do this evening and claims a victory in heat number 2. Tobias Downhour comes through and finishes in 2nd position, and Paul Giffreau completes the top 3. Fred Gabion 4th in the end, so well done to Fred Gabion. 5th was Stefano Gustavalle, despite the grassy moment that he had, and completing the top 6 was Alberto Panibianco. We'll give you a full rundown of the order very shortly as and when the graphic comes up. But we will now grab a quick word with our drivers. There'll be a short warm-up session as well before the main race as well, so there will be the opportunity for the drivers to get a few more laps in before we get our main race underway. But the drivers are dropping into our virtual commentary box, and the first of which is our Heat 2 winner, Andre Castro, the reigning esports champion. Andre, you return to the series and straight away you're at the front. Well done.
Thanks. Helps that it's my easiest track, my best track. Just have a lot of laps here, so just got in the practice session earlier today, started lapping, and wasn't long before I got used to the track. But it's definitely been a challenge. Got a new sim set up, so not using G27 anymore. Using that for 10 years, so adapting to this new system is a bit difficult and a bit different, but I'm really liking it so far.
How different is it? I mean, I've recently moved away from a Logitech to a Fanatec, and with load cells in the pedals, and it's night and day difference, isn't it? We're trying to sort of say to people that maybe aren't as familiar with, it is like having the right equipment in terms of a racing car. You upgrade your equipment, it's a different feel for the driver, but the feel it gives you once you get used to it is so much better. You go so much quicker.
I think so. I mean, I think for me it's about shaving a couple tenths off at the top. Especially in these cars. I think in the open wheel stuff and GT, I think I can gain a bit more time actually, just because these pedals really allow you to, and even the wheel just allows you, the direct drive allows you to feel a little bit more. But, yeah, even just my seating position and everything is better. But no, it's good to be given the 122 car here by DF1 a good run, and it's a lot of fun driving this new sim. So I'm pretty excited to debut it and see what we got.
How frustrating has it been for the first 2 rounds that we had at the first of which was at Daytona on the road course and at Brands Hatch, for you not to be able to compete? Because understandably your studies are very important, you've been focusing on that, so sim racing has to come secondary to that, but it must have been hugely frustrating still.
I mean, in a way, I think we already proved we could do well just winning the championship last year, so I think if that hadn't happened it would have been a bit more frustrating, but This race I also wasn't supposed to be able to do it, but since it got postponed, I'm able to do it now, so I'm pretty glad for that. But yeah, no, just it's great fun. So I'm glad to be back and see what we got here with all the EuroNASCAR guys. They're really quick, and Guillaume is really quick, so we'll see what we got.
It's a good little family, isn't it? It's good to be back.
Yeah, absolutely. I haven't seen all these guys in a couple months since I think Zolder was my last race, so
yeah.
It's good to see everybody again, talk to old friends and stuff, and yeah, having a lot of fun.
Well, congratulations on the Heat 2 win. Hopefully we'll get to chat to you after the final as well, where you'll, I'm sure, be on for a strong result.
Thank you so much, Mark. So hopefully the fans enjoy it. It's a good show, and I love this track, so we'll see how it goes.
Good luck, mate. Well done, Andre. There we go, Andre Castro. Andre Weigold is still there in commentary with me, because I can see you're looking at the camera at the moment rather than driving around the track. So you're not bothering with the warm-up session.
No, I don't care about the warm-up. But I think I wanted to give you one more information. I think there was a last lap clash between Navitalo and Alessandro Brigatti, because I passed the wreck car of Navi, and I saw Alessandro got black flagged. So I think there was something going on in the last lap. And I finished 11th. And now I have to start 22nd. So I'm a little bit afraid. I think I have 12 cars behind me at the start. Can you find me an emergency line where I can just park my car when they go to turn 1, please?
If you're that worried about it, your best bet is don't grid up. Don't grid up. Start from the pit lane, Andre.
Damn, that's a good idea.
No, well done. Well, 11th place, that's knocking on the door of a top 10.
Yes, I'm totally happy. And I think one of those team managers who are with us here today, also with the 300 and so on cars, would be very happy, because there was not a single scratch on my car.
No, well done you. Andre Castro back at the top again. Guillaume de Flandre, Tobias Downhour. For me, any one of those three this evening.
Yes, totally agree. And we have to take a little bit of a look of what Andre Castro is able to do with the long run pace. We saw it with Guillaume de Flandre. After the start, he was flying away from the other guys. Of course, he took advantage of the battle between Philip and Simon, but I think that Andre can match his long run pace, and then we will have a nice battle. And when those both stealing the times from each other, I think there's going to be a 3 or 4 or 5 car battle at the front, because when they cannot fly away, there's going to be a Tobias Downhour, there's going to be a Simon Pilat trying to take advantage of it.
Well, we'll let you get ready for the race, because they're going to be gridding up in about 20 seconds' time. So there we go. Thanks to Andre Weigold. We will try and chat to him during the race as well. If I ask to go over to him and he's just not ready, he'll simply say, can't chat now, Mark, and we'll come back to him, because we want him to enjoy his race. We want to try and get that perspective from what it's like as a driver, and Andre is an experienced sim racer. But we'll freely admit that whilst he's got the experience, he perhaps hasn't got the pace of some of these very, very talented EuroNASCAR drivers that we've got out there. And I ought to say team members including with that, because in free practice, Chris Lehman is 5th quickest at this stage. Daniel Adam, who is a very experienced esport racer, but is, of course, representing Hockenheim, our American Fan Fest event that takes place there, was 8th quickest. So we've got some cars that are sort of numbered in the 300s and the 400s, which are our team members and our track partners and VIPs and influencers at the sharp end. So for the feature race then that is coming up now, it will be Guillaume de Flandre and Andre Castro on the front row of the grid. Simon Pilat and Tobias Downhour on row number 2, and Philippe Beresvel and Paul Geoffroy on row number 3. Row 4 will be Henry Tuamala and Fred Gabion. Row 5 will be Santa Vauxatoria and Stefano Gustavaglie. Row 6 will be Alan Muscaron and Giorgio Maggi, with row 7 being Gordon Barnes and 318, and that is Roy Hendricks, because of course we've got Richard, his brother, in the race as well. The 8th row of the grid is 91, which is Levi Lintacantu. He has for company Luca Caniore. Then on row 9, it's 307. That will be Patrick Hendricks, and 346, which will be Reen Janssen. Vladimir Choitsis and Francesco Garisto line up on row number 10. Row 11 is going to be Daniel Adam and Andre Weigold. Row 12 Just something moved around then. Row 12 is going to be Yevgen Sokolovsky, I think, and Nave Talor. I think we'll probably leave it there because the cars are already heading off around their formation. Now, remember, this is the race that carries the championship points. There are 40 points for the race winner towards the tally of the EuroNASCAR Esports Series. 35 for the driver that finishes in second place, 34 for third, and so on. It diminishes by a point for every position from there. The driver that gains the most places, starting position to finishing position, will also pick up an extra 4 championship points. And Andre alluded to earlier on, remember, once we've crowned our EuroNASCAR Esports champion, that champion in the Esports Series will also gain 40 points towards the team's championship for the 2021 NASCAR Whelen Euro Series when we get it underway. And of course, we do get it underway in the middle of May at Circuit Ricardo Tormo in Valencia, which has taken over the date that should have been the Vallelunga race, but Vallelunga's been moved to elsewhere in the calendar with dates as yet to be confirmed. So we'll keep you posted as what's going on with the EuroNASCAR calendar, should there be any further changes. But yeah, pencil it in your diary, 15th and 16th of May, we have the NASCAR Grand Prix of Spain at Circuit Ricardo Tormo at Valencia. First round of the race series proper, rather than the esports series that we have here now. Now, this is a 30-minute race. Tyre degradation is going to be key. We heard Andre Weigel talking about looking after the tyres on the longer runs. How is Guillaume de Flandre going to deal with the tyre wear? How will he deal with it compared to Andre Castro? Which one of them might come out the better side of it? Could Simon Palat, Tobias Downhauer, Philippe Berreswell, Paul Geoffroy, any of those throw something into the mix as well to mix things up even further along the way? This equivalent race last year, it was Michael Schmidl, one of our guest drivers, that claimed the win. Hugely experienced Michael Schmidl, who was representing Autodrome Most, I think, on that occasion, who claimed the win. But we'll wait and see as to who is going to pick up the win in the Esports Series for 2021 here at Watkins Glen, because the 30-minute race is about to start. The car's just heading around the final corner. The pace truck will pull him to the pit lane entry on the right-hand side. It does look as though Andre Weigel has taken my advice and has decided not to grid up. See the car in the pit lane, and we're about to go green here. You chicken, Andre. Tobias Downhauer is looking to try and grab the lead of the race from Guillaume de Flandre. The two of them side by side round through turn number 1. Andre Castro's there in third position. Oh dear, one of the Not Only Motorsport cars has got tangled up in the background, and that's had a chain reaction, which is dropping cars down through the order, I'm afraid to say. I think it might have been Levi Lintekantu that got tangled up. I think Justin Kuntz has got tangled up in that as well, maybe towards the tail end. Let's have a quick look. No, Daniel Adam, I think, and Jakob Krafek have also, I think, had a few issues down there. But for Guillaume de Flandre, it has gone to plan. He is out front and leading the pack of cars as they head up towards the outer loop at this stage. De Flandre leads, Downhauer in second place. We're looking at Fred Gabion, the Frenchman, at the wheel of the Toyota, who's running in 5th position and is having an absolutely cracking run. Chevy from Ford. The Toyota of Gabion sits there in 5th. Up towards the left-hander, Henry Tuamala completes the top 6 at this stage. Then it's his fellow countryman, Santivox Victoria, that's there in 7th. The Frenchman, Alain Muscron, is 8th. And then it's the two Dutch drivers, the two Hendricks brothers, Patrick from Roy, but they're in 9th and 10th position. But for Simon Palat, work to be done here to try and carve his way up through the order, having got tangled up in the early stages. You can see damage to the front of the car, lots of damage to the tail end of it. Yeah, there's a Not Only Motorsport car I saw getting tangled up. That was Nave Talor, who I think was the first to get sideways. Let's just have a quick look. Nave Talor, yeah, couldn't quite see what happened there, but the chain reaction was Francesco Garisto, Vladimir Choitsis, several others all got mixed up in that, including Reem Jensen as well, Daniel Adam, Chris Lehman, I think Maxi Heilig and Gordon Barnes all were involved in that first corner shenanigans. And as a result, that means that some of them have got huge amounts of work to do still. Problems there, I'm afraid to say. And I think, is that Igor Romanov? Yes, it is. Yeah, Igor Romanov that's had a spin. Let's just have a quick look. How did that happen? All on his own. Yeah, lost the tail end of the car. Oh, almost took out his teammate there as well. But just, I think, able to sneak through there was Levi Lintekantu, that would have been. But yeah, just as he was rotating there, Igor Romanov, The two cars made the lightest of contacts, but Lintecantu just brushed off him rather than cannoned into him, and it meant that Lintecantu got away with a fairly heart-stopping moment, I think, there. Davide De Lara's had a great run through the order. What a fantastic couple of laps for the number 89 car in the hands of the Italian. He has worked his way up to 10th position, having started 27th on the grid. 17 places gained for him. So a really good first couple of laps. 16 places gained for this car as well, which is Max Lancer. He is now hot on the heels of Andre Castro, who was another one that got tangled up in the early stages. See damage to the tail end of his car, having won his heat. Didn't all quite go to plan, did it, when the lights went out before old Andre Castro? Spoke to him after his Heat 1 win. He was looking forward to the race, but he's now down in 18th position, I'm afraid. So not even 5 minutes into the race as yet. That is 3-4-8. Chris Lehman, now I saw him disappear. I think he got towed back to the pit lane. He did the sensible thing. Problems with his car. Moves it out of harm's way on the exit of turn 1 up towards turn 2. And has been towed back to the pits, and he resides still in the pit lane at the moment, whilst Guillaume de Flandre out front, leading the race from his main championship rival, Tobias Downhauer. The gap between the pair of them hovering around 0.8 of a second at this stage. So on to the back straight. Speeds begin to build all of the time in these cars, hitting the best part of 290 kilometres an hour as they get to the fastest points of the circuit. 292 is the top speed we've seen from Guillaume de Flandre, 292 from Patrick Hendricks as well, so pushing nearly 300 kilometres per hour. Great fight going on between Alberto Panebianco, who is fighting away with Giorgio Maggi at this stage. Now, Panebianco is another driver that's had a stellar run through the order. I mentioned Davide De Lara having gained 17 places. I mentioned Max Lancer having got 16 places, but 18 places gained for Alberto Panebianco. Levi Lintecantu, drive-through penalty for the number 91 car for causing an incident with Alain Muscaron in his DF1 Racing Chevy. So that's Lintecantu that will be destined for the pit lane at the end of this lap. And Levi Lintecantu is running in 19th position at the moment. But this fight for 12th and 13th, fantastic stuff. Let's have a quick look. Stefano Gustavalle, is he going to get tagged? Yes, he is, I'm afraid to say. And that was contact by Alberto Panebianco that pitched him round. So poor old Stefano Gustavalle was, I would say, the innocent party there. The door was open a little bit, so maybe Panebianco just thought there was enough room to get his nose up the inside, and once he'd committed to that, then I think the door closed a little bit. But he was certainly not alongside the driver's door at the point the contact was made. We go on board with the reigning EuroNASCAR Esports champion, Andre Castro, looking to try and get up the inside of Luca Caniore's Cal Racing Chevy that lies ahead. Having to lift off the throttle, damage to the front of it, body panels missing off the back of it. The Italian pushing hard to try and work his way further up inside the top 15. 13 places lower than he started, of course, having won his heat earlier on. He's got the overlap here on Luca Caniore. Is he going to get up the inside? Yes, he does. See the nose of the Chevy dip. Up the inside he goes. Place gain there. So Andre Castro moves up into 14th place. Luca Caniore, team manager for Cal Racing, drops down into 15th. For Andre Castro, now he's got clear track ahead of him to see whether he can catch the next batch of cars ahead. That will be Giorgio Maggi and Alberto Panebianco that are the next two cars, and they are having their own little squabble just further up the road. You can just see them in the distance. Back to the battle for the lead of the race. Well, it was 0.8 of a second, the lead advantage. It's been halved. Tobias Downhauer is pushing hard. Now, we're still only 7 minutes into this race. The drivers need to consider what they're doing on the long runs, but the battle for the lead of the race is really beginning to hot up now, as Tobias Downhauer is trying to reel in his main championship rival. Remember, there's only a couple of points separating this pair in the championship. Guillaume de Flandre has had a win and a second. He leads the race. Tobias Downhauer was 4th at Daytona and took a win last time out. Paul Geoffroy gets a drive-through penalty for causing an incident with Simon Palat on lap number 1. So race control are being kept very, very busy indeed with all of these things to look through, and also being kept very, very busy, because I can see him concentrating and his arms moving all the time, is Andre Weigel. Andre, is it? It's never a convenient time around here, but how are you getting on?
I followed your advice and I started from the pit box, and when I came out there was trouble right in the pit exit, so I have to leave the track before the line, so I got black flag and a stop and go penalty because I had an unsafe pit release because there were cars standing in front of me. But you know, I'm in the rhythm right now. I'm like the guys who were involved in this first crash. I'm with those guys, but my car is totally fine, so I have an advantage here. But right now I have a good rhythm, a good flow, and I just try to make my stuff. And I hope. I'm sorry for all the guys who are going to be wrecked, but I hope there will be some wrecks so I can pass some damaged cars.
We'll let you stay in your rhythm there. We'll leave you to it for the moment. We'll come back and join you a little bit later on, because the battle for the lead of the race has increased only by 1/10 of a second, really. So it was down into the low 0.3s. It's now almost up into the 0.4s, but it does look as though Tobias Downhour is going to pick up a bit more of a toe again as they head onto the back straight, which means that the lead advantage just comes down again, back to 3/10 all of the time, whilst Philip Burresveld is hovering around in the background as well. He is within a second and 3/4 of the race leader, Guillaume de Flandre. So the top three not quite together, it's a pair, and Philip Burresveld just that little bit further back. So it's Chevy from Ford, Chevy, and then Toyota. Fred Gabion is running in 4th position at the moment, on for what I think might be his best result in the Esports Series if he stays where he is. He's got a bit of a gap between him and Henry Tuomala, who is there in 5th place. And Santa Torian wraps up the top 6. So the Scandinavians, the Finns, having a good run here this evening. Nose to tail for the lead of the race, though. The gap's down to just 0.2 of a second as they come over the start-finish line. We are a third of the way through the race as well. And Guillaume de Flandre is now being asked a few questions of Tobias Downhour. Now, as a result of these two squabbling, it's also just allowing the 3rd place car, the Hockenheim car, to close in. That's Chris Lehman again, who we've already seen have issues earlier on, and what he's doing is he's continuing around the full circuit actually to get the car out of the way. So again, sensible driving by Chris to just get that car out of harm's way again and getting it towed back to the pit lane. So yeah, back to Philip Burresveld. He's doing a really good job. The leading pair are squabbling, they're holding each other up, and as a result of that, Philip Burresveld, because he's just far enough away from them, he's not getting compromised. His lap times aren't, so he's closing up all of the time. So the top 3 cars separated by 1 second and 3/4 at this stage. Here's the battle for 8th position, and that's Davide De Lara looking to try and squeeze his way through, and does so. Sneaks through and past Patrick Hendricks. So Davide De Lara, now that is 19 places gained for him. He is on a par with the most places gained, because also on 19 places gained is Alberto Panabianco. And if we get drivers that have both gained the same amount of places, the extra 4 championship points go to the driver that finishes ahead of the other. So in this case, Davide De Lara, 19 places gained, but he's in 8th place. Alberto Panabianco, 19 places gained, he's in 11th. So the extra 4 points would go the way of Davide De Lara because he's higher in terms of classification in the race. But that's where they are at the moment. Alberto Panabianco, right, just as I say that, forget everything. Alberto Panabianco, drive-through penalty, I'm afraid to say, for causing contact with Stefano Gustavaglia. We saw that happen at turn number 1. I did think that he was perhaps a little bit keen to show his nose up the inside when there was a gap there. To be fair to Panabianco, there was a gap there. Often in the background is Daniel Adam, we just saw there. But yeah, Panabianco was, I think, a little bit too keen to try and show his nose there. Too much curb for Daniel Adam. Oh dear. And then I'm afraid there was contact with one of the Marco Steep cars there. So yeah, just too much curb as he was heading round through turn number 4. Too much curb on the inside, unsettled it, and Daniel Adam could not recover the car again. So with Panabianco poised for the pit lane, it does look as though, at the moment, in 8th place, Davide De Lara could be on for the extra 4 championship points. The most places gained here. For the lead of the race, Tobias Downhauer has now dropped away a shade more from Guillaume de Flandre, and actually closer to him now is Philippe Beresveld. So de Flandre leads by 0.6 of a second. Tobias Downhauer has just 0.3 of a second between himself and the car in third now, so it's all starting to shuffle around again. A bit quicker through the bus stop chicane now, I think, is Tobias Downhauer over Philippe Beresveld. And again, just to reiterate the numbers, Guillaume de Flandre's car running as car number 64, so he's a EuroNASCAR Pro driver. Tobias Downhauer runs in the 100 numbers, so he's a EuroNASCAR 2 driver. Philippe Beresveld, his car runs in the 400s, 479, so he is one of the EuroNASCAR Whelen Euro Series either guests or influencers or track partners, and in the case of Philippe Beresveld, it's the track partner, because we go on board the Hockenheim American Fan Fest Chevy that runs in third place. Great view of the leading pair ahead. Up through the gears, over the start-finish line, another 2.4 or 3.9 kilometres completed. Almost heading towards the halfway point of the race now as well. Good fight going on for 6th, for 7th and for 8th place. Santi Vauxatori under pressure from Alan Muscaron, the reigning EuroNASCAR Club Challenge champion, looking for the inside line on the fin, but he's just too far back. He then compromises his exit coming off the corner, and that might have the opportunity to Davide De Lara. So it's the fin from the Frenchman, from the Italian, all three of them together. And if they hold each other up much, there might be a Dutchman beginning to close in as well, because Patrick Hendricks is not far away either at the wheel of the 307 Ford. Down the back straight, onto the brakes, in towards the bus stop. Take as much curb as you can. Try and certainly get cleanly off the corner, and then pitch it into the outer loop. Try not to get too much oversteer mid-corner, as we saw Francisco Garisto do. On the brakes and trying to rotate the car at the same time there. The back end very quickly reminds you that it doesn't want to do that. And now, this time, has Alain Muscaron got a run? No, he hasn't, and he needs to be careful that Davide De Lara doesn't have a run on him. Davide De Lara's got the inside line up towards the penultimate corner, sneaks through and grabs the place. So Davide De Lara, another place gained now. That is 20 places gained now for the number 89 car. And the next guy who's going to want to try and attack would see him inside the top 6. Santi Vauxatori. For the lead of the race, Guillaume de Flandre now is back towards 0.8 of a second, which is what it was earlier on. He's got cars to deal with in terms of backmarker Lapri as well before too much longer. And hopefully they will move neatly out of the way. For 11th place, Andre Castro still trying to feed his way through the order. He's got Paul Duthroux's Ford directly ahead of him. Paul Duthroux, who will be doing the Club Challenge in 2021 with Speedhouse, which is who he's racing for in the Esports Series. Ex-kart racer, under pressure from the reigning Esports champion. See how much curb Andre Castro takes. All the way through the bus stop, almost onto the grass as well on the exit of it, trying to straighten up that exit as much as possible. There's still almost half of the race to go. Quick catch-up again, if we can, with Andre Weigold. Andre, we're now halfway through the race. Tyre drop-off, how are you getting on? Because you've now raced for an extra 6 minutes in this race than you did in your heat.
For me, it's fine, but I have a very slow pace. I just try to keep the car on track and enjoy those laps here with those guys. For me, it's a little bit a lonely race, because the guys in front, I can see them, but they are miles away, and I think I have a good advantage on the guy behind me. So everything's fine. I'm in 28th right now, and everything's fine. The car is like brand new. If you want to buy it afterwards, you will not find a single scratch.
We will find scratches on Alan Muscaron's now, though, because something kicked off at turn number 1. Oh dear, yes, it was the I think Patrick Hendricks that got tangled up with Alan Muscaron. The two of them had been battling for position. Let's just have a quick look. Yeah, Alan Muscaron is trying to attack Davide De Lara as they head into the braking area. Oh yeah, I think it was, yeah, just missed his braking point there at the wheel of the 3070. Patrick Hendricks had just got into the left rear quarter panel of Alan Muscaron and turned him around. I don't think there was any intent there, but Alan Muscaron came off worse, really, than Patrick Hendricks, because Muscaron's now dropped to 14th. Patrick Hendricks is running in 9th position. Davide Dallara, what can we say about this guy? He has caught, and he has now got past Santa Vuxatoria. So the Italian at the wheel of the number 89, not only Motorsport Chevy, is now 21 places higher than where he started, and is inside the top 6. So surely, if he keeps things clean for the remaining 12 minutes, those extra 4 championship points are going to be going his way. And what are his lap times doing? His last lap, bearing in mind a bit of overtaking to do, 1 minute 17.0. So at the moment he's slower than the cars ahead of him, i.e. he's not going to catch any more, but that included an overtake, so it's the clear laps now that's going to be popping in. They're the lap times we need to keep an eye on. Andre Castro also looking to try and hoist his way back up through the order. Remember, he was way down following problems earlier on. Well, the Heat 2 winner is now back inside the top 10 and is hot on the heels of the Speedhouse car of Paul Giuffru, the number 264 Ford. As for manufacturers, Chevy leading, Ford second, Chevy third, Toyota fourth, and the rest of the top 6, 5th and 6th, 2 more Chevys. Paul Giuffru in 8th place, under pressure from Castro. As we look down on it from the copter cam up towards the left-hander at the penultimate corner. This is the fight for 9th and 10th, with Patrick Hendricks not that far away in 11th place, and Giorgio Maggi's not too far away either, the Swiss driver, running in 12th place, the former EuroNASCAR 2 runner-up. There is the number 18 car. It's in the hands of the runner-up in EuroNASCAR 2 from 2019. Has claimed championships in the past, though, as well as Giorgio Maggi. He was a champion in Formula Avalon, as it was called, which is a single-seater series that exists over in China. He was champion in that back in 2015. Back to the leader of the race, Guillaume de Flandre, still just over half a second ahead now. It was up to 0.8 of a second. It's whittled back down to 0.6 again. The top 3 cars, actually, are covered by less than a second. De Flandre, Downhauer and Philippe Beresvelt at the wheel of the Hockenheim American FanFest car, having a great run. We go on board with Tobias Downhauer, rear bumper cam, looking back at the Chevy that sits behind. All of them still looking pretty immaculate. I don't think they've had any rubbing of bodywork. Now, Tobias Downhauer was a little bit untidy there, I think, just coming out of turn number 1, which has dropped him away from Guillaume de Flandre to the shade of a 10th of a second. Philippe Beresvelt is close, but is too far away to try anything at this stage. You can see the car still moving around. Andre Weigold moves neatly out of harm's way as the leading trio go by. There's more traffic as well that they will need to deal with before too much longer, and I think that might be Levi Lintakantu that they're coming up to. No matter where you look, though, there are still battles going on. This is Roy Hendricks now, who has caught up with Santu Vuxatorian's Chevy. So it is the Marco Steep Chevy under pressure from a Hendricks Ford. But the leaders have dealt with the traffic and are now heading round through the penultimate corner up towards the final right-hander. And there's no chink in the armour as yet for Tobias Downhauer, just making sure he stays where he needs to be. As we said, so important to get cleanly off these corners, and as long as Tobias Downhauer does that, it's going to make it very difficult for Philippe Beresvelt to try and thread his way through. Back through the S's, so turns 2, turn 3, up the hill towards turn 4, and you still haven't reached the top and the highest part of the circuit at this point. It still keeps climbing all the way up the back straight. You're still climbing in terms of altitude at this beautiful undulating circuit, and then onto the brakes, and it's through the bus stop. You almost reach the highest point of the circuit, because just after the bus stop and up towards outer loop, the circuit starts to drop away again, as we get a great view of the leading pair. Now, I thought I saw Guillaume de Flandre there just mid-corner get a little bit sideways, not much, but maybe the tyres are just starting to go off. We saw him have a huge leading margin at Daytona, and on the final lap almost threw it off the circuit. Yeah, again there you can just see the car sliding through the corner, so I think he's got enough grip still, but he keeps just letting the car slide than with 8 minutes to go. His tyres might be feeling slightly more second-hand towards the race than perhaps Tobias Downhauer or Philippe Beresville that sits behind. Fred Gabillon's still there in 4th, but he's a long, long way adrift now. Drive-through penalty. Alain Mousqueron causing an incident with Patrick Hendricks. Well, race control would have had a look at that from different angles. From the angle we saw the replay, it looked like Patrick Hendricks ran into the rear quarter panel of Alain Mousqueron, but maybe it was Mousqueron moving back over that caused the contact. So absolutely, race control have so many different cameras available to them. They'll have spent some time looking at that before they issue the penalty. The penalty goes in the direction of the back-to-back Club Challenge champion, Alain Mousqueron. Andre Castro running in 10th place still at the wheel of the 122 DF1 Racing Chevy. Paul Dufresne just ahead of him, then Roy Hendricks, and then Santa Taurian. So 4 cars all fighting over 7th at the moment. We're at the car that's at the tail end of this little quartet. The American trying to hunt down the 264 car of Paul Dufresne that lies ahead. The Frenchman. Paul is, again, as with many of the drivers, still a teenager. He's, 17, 18 years of age. That's all Paul Dufresne, and he has just about unpicked the pocket there of Roy Hendricks and should be able to squeeze his way through. Hendricks a little bit squirrely at the wheel of the Ford coming off the corner, but he has the inside line heading up towards the next turn, but already Paul Dufresne is through. So up to 8th for the Ford, the white Ford. Then Hendricks runs wide at the next corner. That's going to allow Andre Castro through. So, yeah, the number 318 Ford losing 2 places there. First of all to Paul Dufresne, then to Andre Castro at the wheel of his Chevy. Now, there's going to be traffic for this gaggle to deal with now. Still 4 of them all together, 7th, 8th, 9th and 10th place. Levi Lintacanto it is that moves, I think, neatly out of the way and allows them through. So that has dealt with the traffic, or the traffic sort of just got out of the way and made it nice and easy for them, which was sensible driving by the driver that was about to go a lap down. And we are now into just about the final 5 minutes of the race. You can see there to the left of your screens, Davide Dallara, 21 places gained from his starting position down in 27th position. A really, really good run from him. Have another quick catch-up with Andre Weigold as well to see how things are going. We saw Andre being lapped by the race leaders, the 481 Chevy. You stayed neatly out of the way, did what you wanted to do. You've kept it clean all race. How are the tyres feeling, though, at this stage?
Still fine for me.
Good.
I can keep my pace. I'm in 118 laps right now, and it feels nice. So I have no problem with the grips right now. But I want to add something. I think on my screen it said that Patrick Hendricks got a penalty and not Alain Mousqueron. I don't know if it's right, but that was the message I had on my screen, just for you to know.
Yeah, right, it was the other way around, was it? Right, okay. There's a replay of what happened when Philippe Beresville managed to grab 2nd place, straight up the inside of Tobias Downhauer, heading into towards turn number 1. Runs a little bit wide, which you can do coming off that corner, but was able to hang on to the position. So Philippe Beresville for Hockenheim American Fan Fest now up into 2nd position, and Tobias Downhauer down into 3rd place, while still sliding the car around in the lead is Guillaume de Flandre. Now, has Philippe Beresville got anything else that he can throw at Guillaume de Flandre? Now, at this stage of the race, I think Philippe Beresville has a quicker car under him and potentially a better set of tyres, because he has very quickly gain that place over Tobias Downhauer. Even quicker, he has pulled away, and now he is absolutely on the bumper of the race leader. Just a 1/10.5 of the second separate Guillaume de Flandre from Philippe Beresville for the lead of the race. There are 3 minutes to go, so maybe another 3 laps at the very most. And Beresville, I think, has looked after the tyres a little bit better than de Flandre, who again just seemed to be sliding the car on the very edge of adhesion onto the brakes at the end of the back straight, in towards the inner loop, or bus stop as it really ought to be known, and then starting to accelerate their way round through the outer loop. They've got a gaggle of traffic as well just up the road from them that will come into play, not so much on this lap, but on the next lap it certainly will, because they are going to catch that traffic and they're going to have to deal with it. Out front, Guillaume de Flandre for Speedhouse. The 25-year-old Belgian leads, but is under enormous pressure from the German youngster. So Chevy, from Ford, from Toyota. There's the traffic just up the road that you can see heading over the start-finish line. Philippe Beresvel jinks out from behind Guillaume de Flandre looking to try and defend on the run up towards turn number 1. So Beresvel goes to the outside at turn number 1, take a wider sweep into the corner. He's still trying to brave it out on the outside. It didn't quite work for him. That was Guillaume de Flandre just doing enough there. Just moving across to cover off the move of Philippe Beresvel and then making sure he got cleanly off the corner. But I think on pure pace, Beresvel is the quicker of the two at the moment. Can he unlock the door? He's certainly knocking on it. It might be ajar, but how desperate is he going to want to be to try and take this win? He's not close enough as they head in towards the bus stop this time through, and we are now only 1 minute and 40 seconds away from the end of the race. So they will have this lap that they're on, and I suspect just one more thereafter. Now, de Flandre, again, not quite as quick mid-corner. Who's going to get off the corner that little bit quicker? You can see the tail end of the race-leading Chevy moving around as Philippe Beresvel will look to try and see whether he can get another good run heading out of the final corner, which they'll be coming up to any second now. Now, they are lapping 1 minute 16s at the moment. Well, there's only 1 minute 13 left, so they will be heading on to their final lap of the race this time through. Oh, Beresvel sideways coming off the corner as he planted his foot to the floor. The tail end of the Chevy nearly broke away from him there, but he just was able to get back off the throttle in time and control the oversteer on the way out of the corner. And that has just dropped him a car length away from Guillaume de Flandre, right at the critical point that what he wanted to do was try and grab the lead of the race. Well, if anything, now he's further away from de Flandre than Tobias Dauenhauer is off his rear bumper. So the gap first to second is bigger than the gap second to third. There's traffic just up the road as well that they need to deal with. And I think that is Stefano Gustavaye and the 483 car that will be, which is the Autodrome Moss NASCAR show car of Jakob Krafek. Jakob is the sports sales manager for Autodrome Moss, another one of our circuit partners. Those two having their own fight for 19th and 20th and trying to stay on the lead lap whilst the race leaders are approaching them on their very final lap. So this could get very tasty indeed. Stefano Gustavaye looking to try and get up the inside of the Toyota, probably blissfully unaware that the race leaders are closing in. He should be getting a blue flag from iRacing. They are still together, and Guillaume de Flandre can't be afforded to be compromised through the traffic here because Philippe Beresvel is absolutely with him, as is Tobias Dauenhauer, and de Flandre is sideways coming off the corner. Philippe Beresvel tries to get a run to the line. There's a little bit of contact between the pair of them, but just a tiny little rub on the run to the line as de Flandre just got the gap closed off in time. So Guillaume de Flandre comes through to win what was a fantastic conclusion to round 3 of the EuroNASCAR Esports Series. He will be delighted with that. I've got to say, what a drive from Philippe Beresvel as well, who I think looked after his tyres that little bit better and had the pace at the end, but just could not unlock the door to try and grab the win. And Tobias Dauenhauer, good championship points for him again as he came through to finish in 3rd position. Fred Gabion will take the checker flag in 4th. Henry Tuamala comes through in 5th. Davide Dallara, what a result. 21 places gained from his starting position and finishes in 6th place. Paul Giffreau was 7th, head of Giorgio Maggi 8th. Simon Palat comes through in 9th, head of Roy Hendricks, Santa Vauxatori, and Andre Castro in the top 12 in the end. But disappointment, I'm sure, for the Heat 2 winner. Alessandro Bugatti and Vladimir Choitsis ahead of Luca Caniori, who completes the top 15. But Guillaume de Flandre, who is making his way back towards the pit lane, will be absolutely delighted with that one. He joins me in commentary now whilst he's still driving the car round to victory lane. Guillaume, congratulations. That was a race win, but towards the end of it, I think Philippe Beresvel was putting the pressure on you, wasn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. The final was crazy. It was not easy, the gaps were closed and no mistake it's allowed. I tried to create a constant and fast rate, but Philippe and Tobias is really quick. And the race, my tire is really dead. I have a lot of oversteering and understeering. It's really important to manage the tire during all the race. But Watkins offers more possibilities than one such, and all the drivers have more room without being in the way.
It was on the charge to the line, there were back markers that were getting in the way, and then you just about got covered the move off, which meant that there was a little bit of contact on the run to the line between you, but it was close, wasn't it? Must have enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's quite close. Philip tried to overtake on the start-finish line. I tried to close the door, but yeah, a little contact, but I think it's the race.
You're still the championship leader. It's more championship points. You must be looking forward to the next round, which will be at Hockenheim.
Yeah, absolutely. The important thing is to score as many points as possible for the championship. Tobias is not far away. Simon can quickly get closer. I will do the best I can until then. And yeah.
Well done, Guillaume. Congratulations. We'll catch up with you next time at Hockenheim. Well done, Hockenheim.
Thank you.
Let's bring in the driver that almost got the win on the run to the line, Philip there as well. Philip, congratulations. It just seemed to me as though you were sitting there in third, looking after your tyre. Well, perhaps Tobias Stauenhauer and Guillaume de Flandre were taking a bit more life out of theirs. It almost came good.
Yeah, nearly. But Guillaume very, very fast. Very, especially in one lap pace. I was able to save a lot of tires behind Tobias. The race was very, very fun. Sorry for Tobias to hitting him on the start-finish train once. I don't know if he wanted to let me pass or something. He just braked. I'm sorry for hitting him. Yeah.
We saw two cars. I mean, it's great to see you back. We saw a little bit of you last year as well. It's great to see you back in the series. Two cars from the Hockenheim Fan Fest, and that's the next round, isn't it, of our esports series, the newly released Hockenheim circuit on iRacing. Will you be joining us for that one?
Yeah, I will be joining us. Sorry, but in the 480 car, not in the 479 car. The 479 car will be piloted by Stefan Quesin.
So you're looking forward to that, a circuit that you know well.
Yeah, of course.
And of course, next time out, after the run here, you'll be wanting the overall victory.
Maybe, yeah.
Maybe. He will. He absolutely will. Congratulations, Philip. Great to chat to you. Well done.
Thank you.
So there we go. That's Guillaume de Flandre and Philip Berr as well. So let's now catch up with the driver. Is Tobias Stauenhauer around? Let's just have a quick look. Yeah, let's bring in Tobias Stauenhauer and cover a quick word with Tobias. Tobias, probably third is not what you thought it might be. But you'd certainly want to be pushing for the win. But it was a close race, and it's more championship points. That's the important thing.
Yeah, it was very good the whole race. We had nice battles between Philip and Guillaume. Both were very fast drivers. But, unfortunately, one time I did a misshift, so no problem for the small hit for Philip. So all good. Yeah, it was a tough race. I sweated a lot, but still good fun, very good fun, and I'm looking forward to the next race.
We were talking about tyres dropping off and Philip saying he thought he'd looked after his tyres sitting behind you. Did you see quite a lot of drop off and that was why you were perhaps struggling towards the end?
Yeah, maybe a bit, but I think I had a good speed the whole race on. Maybe I could attack Guillaume if I didn't do the shift. So yeah, I think we all three had a very good pace the whole race and yeah, good fun.
Philip quick, but of course he's not racing the full championship. He's not in the same hunt as the likes of Guillaume and yourself are. There are only 2 points separating you coming into tonight. There's only going to be maybe 7 or 9 points is it heading in towards Hockenheim. So it's all still to play for, isn't it?
Yeah, of course. I'm looking forward to the next race. Hockenheim is my home track, so it's a track for all of us. And I think it will be very nice to drive. And we also have the double points weekend at the end, so the championship is still ongoing, and yeah, I'm looking forward.
It's going to come down to that final race. We all know it. That's what will happen. Well done. Congratulations again, Tobias. Well done.
Thank you.
And let's bring in, because he joins us in the commentary box, let's bring in Fred Gabion. Fred Gabion is here. Fred, congratulations. It's great to see you going so well in the esports series this year in the Toyota.
Hello, Mark. I'm happy to hear you. Yeah, obviously, I have not the pace to follow the first guy, but it was really fun. I was able to avoid the crash at the first corner, so So after I was just driving and don't make mistake. And the car is really hard to drive, but it's not so bad for an old guy on esports racing.
Old guy, you're still younger than me, Fred. You're still younger than me.
Yeah, I know.
You look at what you did last year in the Esports Series. Have you been spending more time on iRacing and more time on esports? Because this year you've had the pace at every track we've been to, and last year you were quick but weren't quite as high up the order.
I spend lots of time on the sim.
Yeah.
I've bought some new steering wheel, new pedals, chassis, everything, because I don't want to be slow on a car in real or in sim racing. So I spend lots of time, but it's not really easy to understand how to drive a car on this simulation. On all simulation, it's really hard because the feeling is really not the same, but it's really fun to drive, and I'm really happy to be part of this championship.
It's great to see you back because, of course, when you look at what happened in the slightly shortened and abbreviated 2020 championship, RDV competition, and Frank Viola, the team you've been a member of, and all took the season out and didn't compete last year because of COVID-19. You'll be back with a bang in 2021.
Yeah. We will be back this year with Ulysse and me. So last year it was really difficult because normally it will be my last season of racing. So it was really hard to drive alone without my sponsor, my parents, and everything. So it was a better decision to stay at home and to try to make a good season in 21 and to have all my partners and family with me for the last year.
Well done on fourth place tonight, Fred. It's great to chat to you. It's been a while, hasn't it? So good to catch you up, Fred.
Yeah, thank you, Mark.
There we go, Fred Gabillon. So we've spoken to Guillaume de Flandre, we've spoken to Philippe Beresval, Tobias Bauer, and Fred Gabillon. So there's only one more driver that we need to chat to before we wrap up the night, and that is the driver that finished in a heady 28th position in that final race there. He is a driver, but he's also one of our media team, so I could say that. Andre Weigel. Andre, another night's racing, another night that you've enjoyed it, and we've had some great close racing. I think that's the best race of the season so far.
Yes, I've heard it. I had your voice always during my ride around the Watkins Glen circuit, and it sounded like a very fun race from a spectator's view. I will recap it and watch it afterwards. The finish seemed to be very hot. It seemed to be a great stuff. For me, it was a quite boring race because I was lonely all the time. I took a look at what happened at my start. I started from the pit lane, and I went out. And there's a line. You cannot cross it before going on the track. And there was chaos in front of me, and I just reacted to it. But there was no reason why I could have passed the line normally and then go out. And I think then I would be around 24th, 23rd. I think this would be that could have been my pace. But I'm happy because right now I'm going to go to eBay and I will send you the link so you can buy my virtual car without a single scratch.
Yeah, well done. Yeah, I think that's not the first time this season that you've not put a scratch on the car as well. So you've been very consistent in that respect, haven't you? So yes. Looking after the car, looking after the equipment. Sorry, I'm shuffling paperwork if you're wondering what I'm up to. So next time we move to Hockenheim, that circuit has only just been released from iRacing, so we've only just confirmed that. We were either going to go to the Charlotte Roval if Hockenheim wasn't released, or we couldn't get a car set up. We have now got a car set up we're happy with. We will be going to Hockenheim on this brand new circuit, which I haven't even downloaded from iRacing yet. Really exciting times, and because it's a circuit that not many drivers have ever raced on in iRacing because of its launch last week, do you think that might sort of level the playing field a little bit?
Yes, I think so. We also have to find a proper setup for the track because there will be no setup for the NASCAR car on a Hockenheim track, and I think they have different layouts, so maybe we can also race on the one we do in real life because we do the short cut, we don't use the hairpin, and I think there are several layouts, and I think this one is in there, but I cannot confirm right now.
I think they've released all four, so you've got you've got the national layout, you've got the Grand Prix layout, and then you've got the DTM hairpin as well as the other hairpin that we use. So I think they're all there, and certainly that's one that you'll be looking forward to because that's a circuit that you've probably visited once or twice, I'd imagine.
Yes, Hockenheimring is 450 kilometers away from my home, actually. Zolder, Venray, we have been in the past, and Spa-Francorchamps and Circuit Zandvoort are much closer, and also the Nürburgring. But, of course, Hockenheim, it's an iconic German track, and I'm looking forward to racing on it. It has so much to offer. Different types of turns. We have the famous Motodrome when we go inside of the big grandstands filled with virtual spectators, something we have not seen in 2020. So we get at least the feeling of what it is when the grandstands are full and people are cheering for us.
And how brilliant is it that, of course, Hockenheim are one of our circuit partners and have got cars on the grid, and they'll be absolutely racing on home territory.
Yes. It's just fantastic. I don't know what to say. It's just fantastic.
Okay, well, thanks, Andre. There you go, Andre Weigold, who joined us again to chat things through and give us that driver's perspective. So congratulations, him. So that is it for the moment. So our next round, as we say, will be at the Hockenheimring. Now, remember, this round here has been rescheduled, so this should have happened on Tuesday evening. So the Hockenheimring round will be on Tuesday, the 23rd of March. So that is a week tomorrow. We will be at the Hockenheimring for round 4 of the EuroNASCAR Esports Championship. And remember, you can head on to the website as well, EuroNASCAR.com, and pick up on all of the dates for the main NASCAR Whelen Euro Series when we get real racing underway, because we are scheduled to start that on the 15th and 16th of May with the NASCAR Grand Prix of Spain at Circuit Ricardo Tormo in Valencia. So from myself, Mark Werrell, and the whole EuroNASCAR team, hope you've enjoyed this evening's racing. Join us on the 23rd of March, where we'll be at the Hockenheimring. Until then, goodbye.